Vice President JD Vance is in Israel today, joining Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. While addressing the media just moments ago, he said the fragile Gaza ceasefire is going better than he expected. He urged, quote, a little bit of patience amid growing Israeli frustration with Hamas's pace of returning hostage remains. Scripps News international correspondent Blake Sifton joins us now from Tel Aviv with the latest. And Blake, can you tell us more about Vice President's focus while he's in Israel?
Good afternoon, Holly. This visit by Vice President Vance, as well as Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, was seen as an attempt to keep the ceasefire on track and essentially stabilize the situation following that outbreak of violence we saw on Sunday. Speaking to the media just a short time ago, Vice President Vance denied that the timing of this visit had anything to do with the last 48 hours, as he said. And at that press conference, he announced the opening of a civilian military coordination center. This is going to be a ceasefire monitoring mechanism run by the U.S. military, as well as representatives from other militaries. When it comes to the ceasefire itself, he was very optimistic. He said, we're doing very well. We're in a very good place. There will be hills and valleys. Everyone should be proud of where we are today. Now, his presence in Israel, especially at this time, is also being seen as essentially a commitment by the Trump administration to show just how committed they are to the ceasefire amid reports that Israel, and especially Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, are considering potentially abandoning the ceasefire and going back to war. Now, Vance is expected to meet Netanyahu tomorrow, and he will very likely impress upon him just how committed the United States is to this ceasefire. He, Witkoff, as well as Kushner, are also pushing both sides to honor their obligations in this first phase of the deal. For Israel, that means increasing aid into Gaza. And for Hamas, of course, it means doing everything they can to retrieve the bodies of hostages as quickly as they can. Of course, they've said that they are doing that and that they need special and heavy machinery to get more bodies back. On this subject, Vance addressed that as well. He said it's difficult to get these bodies back, but it's not going to happen overnight, that many are buried under rubble and that no one knows where they are, but he was confident that the bodies will be returned. And along those lines, we understand that Hamas is expected to return 2 more bodies of Israeli hostages to the Red Cross in about an hour's time from now. Now, Vance, Witkoff, and Kushner are also expected to address the much more difficult issues that will have to be overcome in order for the second and much more challenging phase of this wider peace plan to be implemented. That includes the disarming of Hamas. He was asked about that, Vance was, in the press conference. He refused to give a timeline on how long Hamas has to disarm, as well as the formation of this international stabilization force that's meant to enter Gaza and assist with demilitarization, and whose progress the full Israeli withdrawal of Gaza is tied to. He also addressed that, and he said and clarified that the United States would not have soldiers on the ground in Gaza as part of that force.
And Blake, can you give us an update on the aid deliveries into Gaza? What's happening? What does it look like there?
So on Sunday, when we saw that outbreak of violence between Hamas and Israel, Israel closed all of the crossings into Gaza. At the time, they said that those crossings would remain closed until further notice, and there was serious concern that that meant that no aid would get into Gaza. We understand that U.S. pressure likely led to them opening those crossings. 2 have been open since Monday, and aid is increasing. However, the United Nations has said that the level entering Gaza is still far below what's needed. According to the text of the deal, some 600 trucks of aid is meant to enter Gaza per day to meet the needs of the people. It is still well below that amount. And the United Nations has called for the opening of all crossings, and especially a crossing into the north of Gaza, because right now there is no direct crossing into the north of Gaza, and that is the area where the United Nations says has been worst hit by famine. Another key crossing that people are hoping will open is the Rafah crossing between Egypt and Gaza. It's been closed for most of a year and a half since Israeli forces seized Rafah, but it used to be a major conduit for aid, and there are trucks lining up on the Egyptian side of the border. We understood that Rafah was expected to open for pedestrian traffic on Monday, meaning people in desperate need of medical care could leave Gaza, and people trying to get back into Gaza could enter. However, that didn't happen, and following that violence on Sunday, there is now no timeline for when the Rafah crossing will open.
All right, Scripps international correspondent Blake Sifton reporting from Tel Aviv. Thank you so much, Blake, for that update. And another